We're about to go on a really cool journey. We're going to leave the world we can see behind and explore this invisible universe that's all around us and even inside us. We're diving into the world of microorganisms.
So that brings up a pretty big question, right? How in the world do we actually see something that's totally invisible to the naked eye? Well, the answer is this incredible story of centuries of scientific discovery, and we're going to break down the tools and techniques that totally unlocked the microbial world. So yeah, how do we do it? And this is what's possible today. I mean, just look at this absolutely incredible image of a paramecium. This isn't some CGI rendering, it's a real picture, a micrograph, that shows the ridiculously detailed three-dimensional surface of a single-celled organism. So, how do you get from, a simple drop of palm water to an image this stunning? Well, that's the journey we're on today.
Okay, so before we get to all the cool, high-tech gadgets, we have to start with the basics. To see things that are this incredibly small, we first need to get a handle on the language of scale and then wrap our heads around the single most important principle in all of microscopy.
First things first, let's get our bearings on size. We're not talking about inches or centimeters here. We're talking about the micrometer. That's 1/1,000,000th of a meter. To put that in perspective, a single human hair is about 70 micrometers wide. And most bacteria, they're just a few micrometers long. But then, to see something like a virus, we have to shrink down even further to the nanometer, 1/1000,000th of a meter. That's 1,000 times smaller than a micrometer. It's just a mind-boggling scale to be operating on. All right, now for what is maybe the most important concept in all of this, resolution. It's really easy to mix this up with magnification. Magnification just makes things look bigger, right? But resolution is what makes them clear. Think of it like the pixel count on your phone screen. The more pixels, the sharper and more detailed the image is. In a microscope, better resolution means we can see two tiny dots that are super close together as two separate things, not one blurry blob. That is the real key to seeing the unseen world, not just making it bigger, but making it crystal clear.
So, our very first window into this invisible world was opened with a pretty simple but totally revolutionary tool, the microscope. And for hundreds of years, our go-to instrument has been the compound light microscope, which, just like the name says, harnesses the power of visible light.
And here's basically how it works. As you can see, light starts way down at the bottom, at the illuminator. It gets focused by a condenser right onto our specimen. From there, that light passes up through the first set of lenses, the objective lenses, which do all the heavy lifting for magnification. And finally, that now magnified image travels all the way up to the ocular lens, or the eyepiece, which is where we look. It's just this beautifully simple, elegant system of light and glass that opened up an entire universe for us.
So just how powerful is it? Well, by combining these lenses, we can get some serious magnification. Most lab work is done at about 1,000 times magnification. You get that by multiplying the eyepiece, which is usually 10x, by the really powerful oil immersion objective lens, which is 100x. And believe it or not, that tiny little drop of oil is absolutely critical. It helps capture light rays that would otherwise scatter, keeping the image sharp and maintaining that all-important resolution when you're zoomed in that far.
But here's where we hit a pretty major snag. If you put a living, unstained bacterium under a standard microscope, you're going to see, well, pretty much nothing. They're mostly water, almost completely colorless. It's like trying to spot a ghost in a blizzard. So how do you solve this fundamental problem of contrast?
Well, one solution is to get really clever with the light itself. What we have here are three different views of the exact same paramecium. On the left, that's standard brightfield. You can kind of see the outline, but not much detail inside. In the middle, that's darkfield. Here, by blocking the direct light, the specimen itself scatters light back at us, making it pop, all lit up against a black background. And then on the right, we have phase contrast. It's this super smart technique that plays with light waves to make internal structures visible with way more clarity. Three different ways of playing with light, and each one reveals a whole new layer of detail.
So bending light is one way to do it. But the other, and probably more common approach, is just to add some color. This is where we get into the art and science of staining, which is a total cornerstone of microbiology that turns those transparent little ghosts into vibrant, visible cells.
The chemistry behind this is surprisingly simple. First, you take a thin film of microbes, that's called a smear, and you stick it to the slide, usually with a little bit of heat. Then you add the dye, and here's the trick. Most bacteria have a slightly negative charge on their surface. So if we use a basic dye that has a positive charge, it's like a magnet. The dye sticks right to the cell and colors it. But if we use an acidic dye, which is also negatively charged, the cell pushes it away. So the dye stains the background instead, leaving the cell as this clear little silhouette. Pretty clever, right? Now, the most famous staining procedure of all is probably the Gram stain. It's what we call a differential stain, which means it actually separates bacteria into two huge groups. So first, all the cells get stained purple with crystal violet. Then, iodine is added to make that dye clump up into a big complex. But here's the key step, the alcohol wash. It completely washes the purple dye out of one group of bacteria, the gram-negatives, but not the other, the gram-positives. Finally, you add a red counterstain, called safranin, to color the now clear gram-negative cells.
And this is what it looks like in a real-world clinical setting. This is a micrograph from an actual patient sample. You can clearly see the two groups, the purple, gram-positive bacteria, and the pink, gram-negative ones. In just a few minutes, this one single test gives doctors absolutely crucial information about what kind of infection they're up against, and that directly tells them which antibiotics to use. It's a simple, powerful tool used in hospitals all over the world, every single day.
And the Gram stain is really just the most famous example. Microbiology has this whole toolkit of different stains. You've got simple stains that just use one dye to see basic shapes. You have differential stains, like the Gram stain, that are designed to separate bacteria into different groups. And then you have these really cool special stains, which are engineered to highlight specific, hard-to-see things, like a slimy outer capsule or a super tough, dormant endospore. Each one is like a different chemical key for unlocking microbial secrets.
But even with all this clever lighting and a whole rainbow of stains, we eventually hit a wall. A physical wall. Visible light itself just has a wavelength that limits its resolution. You simply can't use it to see extremely small things, like viruses. To go deeper, we needed a whole new kind of illumination. And that's when the electron microscope came along. The basic idea is kind of the same, but the parts are fundamentally different. Instead of a beam of light, it uses a beam of electrons, which have a much shorter wavelength. And instead of using glass lenses to bend light, it uses these powerful electromagnets to focus that electron beam. And just look at the difference in resolution this makes. The best a light microscope can do is 0.2 micrometers. An electron microscope, it can get down to 2.5 nanometers. That is a monumental leap in our ability to see fine detail.
Now, this technology comes in two main flavors. On the left, that's an image from a transmission electron microscope, or TEM. It works by shooting electrons through an incredibly thin slice of the specimen, giving us this awesome 2D cross-section of all the machinery inside. On the right, that's from a scanning electron microscope, or SEM. This one bounces electrons off the surface of the specimen, generating a stunning 3D view of what it looks like on the outside. So real simple, TEM is for seeing inside, SEM is for seeing the surface.
But what if we want to go even further? I mean, what if we want to see not just the cell, but the individual molecules that it's made of? Well, back in the 1980s, this revolutionary new family of microscopes came out that promised to do exactly that, scanned probe microscopes.
And this is the unbelievable result. This image comes from an atomic force microscope, or AFM. It doesn't use light, it doesn't use electrons. Instead, it works by literally feeling the surface of a specimen with an unimaginably tiny probe, building an image atom by atom. What you are looking at right there are the individual molecules of a toxin that's made by bacteria. We've literally journeyed from seeing blurry shapes in a drop of water to visualizing the actual molecular machines of life itself.
So, from a simple glass lens to a device that can literally map out individual atoms, our centuries-long quest to see the invisible has revealed this universe of breathtaking complexity and beauty. We've actually built the tools to watch life happen at its most fundamental level, which really leaves just one question. What invisible frontiers will we explore next?